Hey there, welcome back to the Medcurity Podcast. Today we are talking about something that is incredibly easy to miss, even if you consider yourself to be someone who's very careful online, and that is lookalike domains. These attacks are subtle, they're growing fast, and they've already caused major breaches and multi-million-dollar losses in healthcare. The scary part is that it's not about outdated firewalls or technical vulnerabilities, it's about trust, and how easily that trust can be manipulated. So let's walk through what these attacks are, how they work, and what your organization can do to stay one step ahead. To start, picture this. You are a clinic manager and you get an email from your EHR vendor about a new update. You click the link, see the familiar login screen, enter your credentials, and just like that, you've handed your username and password over to a hacker. Everything looked right, the logo, the layout, even the domain name at the top, but that domain wasn't quite what you thought it was. Maybe one letter was swapped, maybe a character looked right but wasn't, or maybe the domain name had an extra word like secure tacked on. This kind of attack is called domain impersonation, and it's part of a broader trend targeting people more than systems. Unlike malware or ransomware, it doesn't need to break in, it waits for someone to walk in through the wrong door. There are a few different kinds of this attack, but they all play on the same idea. Humans don't always read domain names carefully, so attackers use names that look nearly identical to the trusted ones. This can be something like clinicportal.com, but the A and the T are switched around in the link, or maybe swapping a lowercase l for a number 1, or using characters from a different alphabet. On most screens, these are indistinguishable unless you really know what you're looking for. Now, this isn't a theoretical risk. Healthcare has already seen real-world consequences of these. One high-profile case happened with Blue Cross of Minnesota. Attackers registered a fake domain that closely resembled Fairview Health's and used it to impersonate senior executives through a series of emails. They convinced Blue Cross to wire more than $8 million to what turned out to be a fraudulent account. The money was gone, and it all hinged on a domain name that looked legitimate. Now let's pause there because $8 million is a huge number, but it's not just about money. These attacks can also lead to stolen credentials, unauthorized access to systems, and exposed patient data. If someone logs into a fake EHR portal and that attacker then can reuse those credentials to access the real one. If someone pays a bill on a spoofed website, their credit card information might be compromised. And if attackers spoof a vendor domain, they might get access to conversations, purchase orders, or sensitive operational details. Healthcare organizations are especially vulnerable to this kind of attack for a few reasons. First, there's a wide network of third-party relationships, billing vendors, software providers, insurance partners. This means that there are more domain names to track, more login pages, and more opportunities for someone to look close enough. Second, the stakes are high. Patient data is valuable and trust is essential. And third, people in healthcare are busy. They're moving fast, juggling systems and answering messages and trying to do 100 things at once. That's exactly the kind of environment where a lookalike domain can slip through unnoticed. So let's break down the most common techniques that attackers use. First one is called typo squatting. This is exactly what it sounds like, registering a domain that's one typo away from the real thing. Maybe it's missing a letter, maybe 2 letters are flipped. Sometimes the mistake kind of looks like a typing error. Basically, the goal of this is to catch someone who's in a hurry and not quite sure of the address maybe, and lure them into thinking they're in the right place. Some other attacks involve swapping out characters for lookalikes. Maybe it's the letter O is swapped out with the number 0, or there's a capital I instead of a lowercase l. The classic example is the Cyrillic A, which is visually identical to the standard A in many fonts, so you could look at the URL 5 times and still miss it. These attacks are getting harder to detect and often harder to defend against because they bypass traditional spell check or typo detection. And then we've got combo squatting. This one takes a trusted name and adds something onto it. Maybe the word secure or login or verify or billing. For example, if your actual portal is medclinic.com, a fake might be medclinic-login.com. It feels legitimate. It even sounds like something that an official email might link to, but it's not connected to your organization at all. And the last one we'll cover today is subdomain spoofing. This is where the attacker uses a long string of official-looking text as a subdomain to mask the real destination. So something like epic.myclinic.com.ehrlogin.securityupdate.net. This looks like it's related to Epic or your clinic, but the actual domain is security-update.net. Everything before that is just decoration. Most people don't read past the first few dots, so they might miss where the link is really going. Each of these methods plays on the same weakness. People trust what is familiar, and in healthcare, that trust can be weaponized. Now, the obvious question is, how do you defend against it? The first and most important step is this right here, awareness. You can't protect against something you don't know exists. Most of these threats don't rely on technical flaws. They rely on someone clicking a link without looking too closely. That means your front line of defense is your people. Staff need to know what to watch for. They need to know what these attacks look like and how subtle the tricks can be. Start by making this one rule very clear. Never rely on visual familiarity alone. A logo, a layout, or the padlock icon in a browser, none of these guarantee that a site is legitimate. That padlock just means that the site has a valid SSL certificate, not that it's safe or authentic. The real check is in the domain name. And that brings us to a practical habit. Hover before you click, especially in emails or texts. Don't just tap. Hover your mouse over the link and look at the URL. Is it spelled right? Is it exactly what you expect? Are there extra words or strange characters? If anything seems off, don't click. Go directly to the site instead. Another best practice is to bookmark your login pages. If your staff log into an EHR or a billing portal or any other vendor system regularly, make sure that they use a saved, verified link. That cuts out the chance of a typo or clicking on a spoofed result in a search engine. Some organizations go a step further than this and register a typo version of their own domain name or multiple. That way, even if someone types healthclinic.com with one letter off, it still routes to the right place. It's not a foolproof solution, but it limits how much attackers can exploit common mistakes. There are also technical tools to help. Domain monitoring services can alert you when a new domain is registered that closely resembles yours. That gives you a chance to investigate, issue warnings, or even take legal action if necessary. Email security platforms can flag suspicious links, scan for lookalike domains, and block emails that spoof display names or sender addresses. And of course, training. Security awareness training isn't just about phishing emails anymore. It has to include education about domains, subdomains, and the ways that attackers mimic trusted sites. Make this part of your regular training cycle and tailor it to real-life examples in healthcare. As always, none of these defenses work in isolation. It's about layers, people, process, and tools all working together to reduce the chance of a mistake turning into a breach. Before we wrap up, it is worth mentioning that these attacks aren't limited to providers. Vendors, billing companies, and even patients can be targets. If you send invoices, if you send appointment reminders or portal invitations, your patients might be the ones facing lookalike attacks. That's why your domain, your branding, and your communications need to be clear and consistent and trustworthy. Let people know what to expect from you, what addresses you send from, what your links look like, how they can verify if something's real. So what's our bottom line? Lookalike domain attacks are increasing. They're subtle, they're cheap to launch, and they can bypass a lot of traditional security tools, but they're not unstoppable. With the right habits, some smart tools, and a little healthy skepticism, your organization can spot them early and shut them down before they cause real damage. Thanks for joining us today on the Medcurity Podcast. Stay sharp out there, and as always, keep that patient data locked up tight.